So in this video I'm going to be showing you how to take your finished mix and bounce it down into a single stereo file. There are several techniques we can use to do this, and the most simple of which is to go to the File, Bounce to Disk menu. However, if I was to do this right now, what would happen is that Pro Tools would create a bounce file based from bar 1 beat 1 to the last clip position in my session. Now this might be a problem if you have elements such as reverb tails or delays, just audio aspects that continue a little while after the last clip finishes. So a better option is to get into the habit of making a timeline selection and then choosing your bounce to disk option. I can choose what's going to bounce. Currently it's set to bounce my left-right mix bus. That's the bus that we set up earlier to feed the output 1, 2. I could choose any of the other output buses that I've used, and I have physical output. Now if you remember when we did the I/O setup, that it was possible to make multiple buses feed the same output path. This is sometimes known as overlapping buses, and if for some reason that's your approach you had to your mix, you'd understand the importance of bounce to physical output, because this would be all the buses assigned to this output contained in your bounce. Here I can choose my file type. SD2 is a very much outdated file format. AIFF we saw was the other available file format for Pro Tools. MP3, I wouldn't recommend you bounce to MP3, you might convert to MP3 afterwards however. QuickTime and MXF. MXF is the Avid Media Composer file. Okay, so let's stick to WAV, it's generally your best choice. I need to make sure I choose interleaved, otherwise what Pro Tools will give me is a separate left file and a separate right file, which honestly isn't going to be much use. I can choose my bit depth and sample rate. My current session is running at 48 kHz, so I don't have any conversion quality issues. If we have a quick look here, now I can choose to go from a really quick conversion to the highest possible quality or tweak head. But if I'm sticking to 48 kHz, that's not an issue. We also have options here of convert during or after bounce. It's currently running at different setups from what we have here, so I'd like to do this once it's finished. If we were to choose import after bounce, we would have our bounced track available in our clip list. Add to iTunes library, obviously we'll put it straight into the iTunes, and share with SoundCloud. Well, before I do this, we would need to go to Setup and choose Connect to SoundCloud. So I'll put in my details. And my password. And connect. If I now go back to my bounce to disk option, I could tick share with SoundCloud. This won't work if I have multiple mono. It's only possible to upload interleave files to both iTunes and SoundCloud. We press bounce and, well, choose a name for my mix. I'm happy to leave it in the audio files folder for now. This is my SoundCloud options here, so I can decide if I'm using any Creative Commons or complete copyright protection. I can put in my tags, so this is a work in progress. Genre, that's good enough, and we'll put the band name in here. Click on share. Now, bouncing in Pro Tools is in real time only, so you're better off to actually listen to the whole thing, make sure there's no errors, but otherwise you could just go and take a coffee break. I'll just quickly put this video into fast forwards, save us a little bit of time. So Pro Tools converts the bounce files, and behind the scenes it'll be uploading it to my SoundCloud account. We'll see a pop-up message telling us when that's finished, so keep an eye out for that later. Now, the issue with Bounce to Disk is that it doesn't allow you to do any live modifications to the mix. One other technique that many engineers prefer is to actually bounce your track down to a new stereo track. If I go up to my file Save As, and I'm going to be calling this, well, it's already called Bounce, but this is my Bounce 2 track session. Now I can go back to my unmodified session once I've finished, and let's have a look in the mix window. Now, I have most of my tracks actually going straight to the mix bus, so I can select the backing vocals, and you can see all of these are feeding the mix bus. Apart from the drums, most of the drums are feeding this auxiliary track, so that's all of the tracks I need to concern myself with right now. Let's double check. Yes. Holding the Option and Shift keys together, I can change the output of all of these selected tracks in one go. So I'm going to go to New Track. I would like this to be an audio track, and I would like this to be just called Rough Mix. Here it is. You can see all these red lights coming on here. This is not going to be a concern right now. This is telling me that my delay compensation engine isn't set high enough, but this would only be an issue if I was then going to put this track in blended with the rest of them. Say if I needed to free up resources and bounce all of my drums, for example, down to a single stereo file. If I click Input Monitor, we can have a listen to the track going through here. As you can see, it's all going through this audio track. If you need to do any troubleshooting, you're also going to need to remember to solo safe this track. If we now go back to the edit window, you can see my new track here, and all that would remain to be done is to arm the track and hit record. Right, I've just stopped that rather than listen to the entire oh, here goes the pop-up message I told you would appear earlier. We can copy that address so we could paste it into our browser later if we needed to. As I was saying, I interrupted the bounce down of the track just to save time rather than wait for the entire 142 bars. Now, although Pro Tools has got the current settings, if we check on our settings window, of interleaved. We didn't. Okay, good. Because interleave was not pressed with the current settings, I don't actually have a rough mix interleave stereo file created yet. What I will have is a separate left file and a right file. If we open up the clip list here, you can see it should already have selected the rough mix. To scroll all the way down. Here it is. From the clip list, I have got an option of right-clicking and choose Export Clips as Files. Now, what I can do is take my selected clip and decide that this, in turn, is going to be an interleaved 24-bit 48 kHz file. It's going to put it by default into my audio drive Pro Tools Sessions backing up. That's the name of my current session folder. Straight into the audio files destination. But I could, of course, just put this, say, straight to the desktop of my computer. If I now click Export, I will get my 24-bit 48K interleaved file, and this will be much quicker than rebouncing everything down to disk. Okay, if we have a look now on the desktop, here it is. And we can play it in the preview browser. As you can see, that's quite a few different techniques of actually bouncing down your Pro Tools session to a single stereo file, and it's down to the user which one of these techniques they prefer.